We approached it in the early days, probably the frantic way of just saying, okay, maybe we could put a pump track over there eventually, and then do something over there, and some golf course and a par 3 and all that. And that was definitely an approach, but as we sort of got a little smoother and invested along the way, we really started with really understanding what kind of company we want to be, what we want to deliver, what markets we wanted to access, whether it was going to be a first foray into training and progression, or if there was going to be a balance into leisure, and sort of like, provide, like the boat trip on land type deal. And so when we started there, we went to town on really mapping out in those markets, what personas we were trying to pursue.
The biggest piece of advice I could give would think about, like, we use even a program where we create a 3D render and we actually walk through and we look at all of our sight lines. And like, there's a really big thing, like, I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's like sight lines, it's like crime prevention through sight lines. You can actually statistically lower crime and any negative behaviors based on what sight lines you have within the park. So I think thinking about how everything, once it goes from, 2D to 3D, how it's actually going to work in real life versus, how it's, whatever's in your head is not how it's always going to work out once it goes to paper and then reality, right?
You will maximize your return if you can maximize the number of people who come to your venue and subsequently maximize the amount of time that they spend at your venue. It sounds somewhat overly simplistic, but that's the formula. We learned a long time ago that mom is without a doubt the most important member of the family. And if you can keep mom happy, like, that's your first hurdle. And if you can keep her happy and she's willing to stay on site, the rest of the family is going to stay around for much longer. But if you can keep her happy, if you can keep the teenage daughter happy, 4-year-old boys are pretty darn easy to please, so it doesn't take a whole hell of a lot there. But what you end up with is not only a length of stay that is extended, you get a daily spend that is increased multifold, and ultimately it translates into repeat visitation that you never really thought was attainable.
You think about, cold weather and wetsuits, and it becomes a major issue with surfers just carrying water into your facility and things like that. So you've got to set up wet and dry areas and ways to accommodate that water that's brought in. How do you get rid of it with drains, fans, whatever, that type of stuff? And you're going to need 300 to 500 wetsuits to accommodate the crowds that are coming out with the capacities that these pools offer. So setting up for stuff like that in the building layouts is just crucial, because if you don't do it properly, you're not going to be able to offer that seamless guest experience once you're open.
I really think Disney's right around the corner here. I think there's a big opportunity for this is going to catch wind real quick. I know we're working with some of the bigger names, the bigger developers, the big groups that have money. They're just kicking the tires on this now, but the potential's there. But there's also an authenticity that we've talked about here a lot. And in any design, any development, you got to really, that's what we pride ourselves on, is going to a place and making yourself one of the place, whether it's in Costa Rica, whether it's in Dubai, it's authentic. So how do we keep that surf culture going when you get in this?